Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Connor Finton, and we're going to be bringing you the top 4. We are down to 4 players out of almost 1,000 Masters in the TCG here at the Charlotte 2018 Pokemon Regional Championships. We've got an amazing match ahead of us here. 60-card mirror between Ryan Sabelhaus and Igor Costa.
Yeah, it's incredible that both of these players are able to get this far with the exact same 60 cards in their deck list. Of course, Ryan and Igor, friends, teammates, work together on this list. Pretty straightforward other than the 2 baby Mews, but as we've seen, that has gone, we've seen that put in some work today. When Absolutely. Ryan played earlier today against a Buzzwole Lycanroc mirror, it's going to be a fast-paced hyperdrive matchup. So.
Right. Speaking of fast-paced and hyperdrive, something I want to point out. This is actually monumental to us here. We have had 9 plus 5, 15 Swiss rounds, a top 8 and everything already. We have had 0 ties, and so that means we will not have a single tie. We haven't had one match even go to tie. Yeah. So with that, I have to say that we're going to do this with no ties. So they are gone, everybody. No ties here on this stream. Now with that though, just to talk a little bit about the players and give a little bit of background while we're waiting to go into this matchup here, Igor Costa and Ryan Sabelhaus, 2 players that are going for a crazy victory here. Ryan Sabelhaus will be the 2nd person to win 6 regional championships if he's able to win. While we're going into this, we're also going to take a look over to the matchup here as well, with Ryan Sabelhaus getting to open going first. But something also about Igor Costa is if he wins the regional championship, he will only be the 2nd person, Israel Sosa being the other, to win back-to-back regional championships.
Yeah, so both of these players going for history. They couldn't, and these are 2 players that, are already historic.
Absolutely. If somebody sees Ryan Sabelhaus, if somebody sees Igor Costa on their pairing sheet, sees themselves against one of them, they know that they are going to be in for a match of the century. They know it's going to be an uphill battle. These players are no strangers to this stage, and they know what to do in these high-pressure situations.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier during Ryan's match that he instills the fear of just being him in his opponent. You assume he always has what he needs, and so you end him out of a dead hand into everything he could ever want.
Absolutely. So with this here, though, we do see an Ultra Ball discarding 2 fighting energies for Ryan. Not really the most ideal thing when you're not playing any copies of Super Rod. They are each playing with 10 fighting energy, so 1 more than the traditional list. And then if Sycamore comes down, that's actually 1 fighting on board and 3 in the discard pile. So that's already 4 fighting energies gone and a Lycanroc with no chance of bringing any of those cards back from the discard pile.
Yeah, it's interesting that their list doesn't play the Super Rod, because that means that if they ever discard these Pokemon, they just have no way to get them back. There's some things in here that there's only 3 Buzzwole. A lot of these lists are playing heavier lines, so let's say you prize one, one gets knocked out, for some reason you have to Sycamore away one, you're done, you don't have any more. The Lycanrocs, it's a 2-2 line, and you discard a Lycanroc, you're done. You only get 1. Octillery, same thing. There's these evolution lines that can, get kind of iffy. So once it's gone, and he's gonna have to deal with it.
And that's exactly the situation Ryan's in now, because he also even just went with a Rock Ruff, so that's a whole 1/1 line of the Lycanroc that is not going to be available now. We do see the Regirock come down onto the bench and now into the active position for Ryan. So he will be getting that damage buff and everything.
You have to assume that he retreats into the Regirock so that he is not hit for weakness by this Mew.
Right. Igor opening that Mew is very fortunate for him. Not only is it a free retreater, but it's really just kind of the best attacker that you could want in this kind of situation. Igor actually picking up his deck, he's using Encounter. He's using Mew's attack to search his deck for a Pokemon, so I'm going to assume that his hand is not very good. And this is the worst part, is that he's about to look and realize that he's Tapu Lele's prize and one of his Octillery, so if he goes for Remoraid, he's just going to have to hope to find 1 other Octillery. So yeah, that's not what he wanted to see.
It's not at all what Igor wanted to do with this encounter attack. He wanted to grab that Tapu Lele and go and start drawing some cards, but now he's going to have to sit here and wait until he's able to top deck something good.
He goes for the Rock Ruff in this situation, knowing how important that is in this matchup. But both players off to a little bit of an odd start. Ryan's at least got a little bit more going for him, just had to use a little bit of resources to get there. Abyssal Hand does come into play for him, bringing him up to a total of 5 cards into his hand. And Ryan's going to have to make a decision. He's going to have to find a way to get this Regirock out of active, whether it be with a Guzma or finding another Floatstone.
Yeah, we're seeing that retreating of the Buzzwole is kind of, firing back at him. He would have really liked to just be able to start and take a knockout on this Mew, maybe do some other damage, but instead there's just this Regirock sitting there not doing anything for him.
Ryan does opt to put the Brooklet Hill down. He says, you know what, I kind of don't know if I want to do this because I can see that Igor's hand isn't playing out very well for him, but he's going to counter anyways. So he decides to go with it, does get another Buzzwole out of it, attaches to that same Buzzwole as well, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see any kind of attacking here. I'm not sure if he has the Guzma that he's looking for.
Yeah, he's just going to pass. I think that's probably correct. You don't want to give Igor a complete new hand when you know that his hand isn't all that great. Now with these Brooklet Hills, he will be able to start setting up other attackers. There's a bunch of energy in his hand. He's got multiple Guzmas. He's going to start swinging. If anything, he can retreat this Mew and Guzma up that Buzzwole and just start attacking and doing like heavy damage.
Yeah, I like putting down the Brooklet Hill for Ryan because Igor already was holding the Rockruff as he telegraphed from using a counter. He already has a Buzzwole on the bench, so unless he's looking for the Rip Raid or anything like that, there's really not that much that's going to benefit Igor in this situation that Ryan was afraid of. And in addition, if he does get extra Pokemon onto his bench, that does increase the damage for Lycanroc's GX attack, which, as you can see, that's probably why he... Oh boy, the corner is coming.
Yeah, and so we've seen this a couple times this week in corner, just such a strong card, and then Ryan immediately top decks the Guzma. Can bring up that Mew, but he doesn't have a way to knock it out yet.
Right. I think he actually may have had the Guzma last turn and opted not to play it. But either which way, this Squid is backed into a corner here and needs to find a way out before it inks. Going through this, though, he's going to be able to bring up that Buzzwole. Does want to be able to start putting damage onto it, while also probably spreading damage to either the Rockruff or the Mew on the bench.
Yeah. Ryan still has an Abyssal hand here, but he's going to have to make a decision on where he wants to put that 30 damage on the bench when he does attack. I would have to as well. He's already played the Guzma, so there's no more supporter cards from Ryan. So we're just going to see this 40 damage come on the active. And he gets to pick if he wants to put it on the Rockruff here, put on some pressure, or on the Mew that's threatening to do some damage. I think he'll probably put it on the Rockruff.
I think so.
Force the evolution, and if he doesn't, then that's the energy gone and the potential threat of a dangerous Rogue GX off the board.
Yeah, with Igor telegraphing that hand that's not looking too great so far, you'd think that there's probably a very unlikely situation of the Rockruff being able to evolve into Lycanroc if you do put the pressure. But I see actually there's a Sycamore in Igor's hand. I think he's been holding that.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So yeah, he had a lot of energy in the Guzmas in hand, so maybe he just didn't want to have to discard all of those. And yeah, I see the Sycamore. He just goes for another Guzma counterplay. Ryan did get a Guzma off of that Abyssal hand, so he will be able to knock out. Well, he will be able to knock out this Mew on the bench and do some heavy damage to the Buzzwole.
Yeah, I do like it putting the damage there on the Mew because of the situation. Like I said, we're going to see the Guzma come back out, but more damage on the Buzzwole, everything here. I almost wouldn't mind. I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting. That Rockruff with an energy is obviously dangerous, so at any point it can turn into a Lycanroc and use Dangerous Rogue. So it's going to be kind of risky for Ryan to be able to want to use that Buzzwole with the 2 energy already. Not really sure how he's going to be able to, walk himself through this without walking into a Dangerous Rogue.
Yeah, Ryan does miss that Max Elixir. It's, with all of these basic energies that already gone through, it's not surprising, but of course Ryan would have loved to hit that energy, get 2 energy on his benched Buzzwole GX so he can start and set up all of his attackers across the board. He does still have a potential for a Dangerous Rogue next turn, but it doesn't do what he really needs it to. He's going to attach to the Buzzwole that's already powered up. I'm not sure how much I love that, because if this Dangerous Rogue does come out from this Rockruff, he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the worst part is that he's assuming that Igor's hand is not live, but we know he's been just holding that Sycamore and everything there, so I think he's kind of banking on that as he makes this decision.
Yeah.
He may just decide to, let's just kind of see how the rest of his turn plays out, but I do see a Max Elixir in his hand, so I really wouldn't even be surprised if he decides to...
he might just, do 160 damage to this.
That's what he was looking for.
To this Rockruff.
Oh, I think he's going to take out this Rockruff however he needs to. And I agree with you. He's willing to use the Knuckle Impact to take this threat out. He knows that Dangerous Rogue is only the only real scenario to knock him out, and the easiest way for him to do it. So he wants to make sure that threat isn't available.
Yeah, you could say Dangerous Rogue is his most dangerous opponent right now.
I would say that that's correct. We do see a second Max Elixir whiff from Ryan, so he is 0 for 2. Realistically, he's only going to be able to play a maximum of 3 Max Elixirs in this game because that Max Elixir in Ryan's prizes now is probably going to be the last prize card he takes.
Well, let's see.
And, well, here's that third one we talked about, and he is okay.
On the last one.
Woo.
Yeah, that is pretty big. Ryan still, I wish he would have attached that energy to the bench, but, well, he needs to take this knockout on this Rockruff. So the Dangerous Rogue is out of play, so it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. So everything is fine. Ryan, is in a much better position now that the Rockruff is off the board. Igor does have a Sycamore in hand, so he isn't out of the game yet, but he is a little bit behind. We might see a Knuckle Impact come from the Sudowoodo, or a Watch and Learn 4 Knuckle Impact. If this Elixir hits,
Igor's... This Elixir hits, I think he's got it already, actually.
This game is just a bunch of... We've seen many Elixir misses in these last 2 rounds. Max Elixir has a pretty decent shot of hitting most of the game, but neither of these players are hitting their Max Elixirs when they really need to.
He's got the Strong Energy Regirock, is what I did see there, so all he needs is a Max Elixir, which he did draw 1 other copy, so he can... Oh, that's a Float Stone, never mind. So he's not going to be able to use this Sudowoodo here.
Yeah, he's just gonna... He'll be able to swing for, a good amount of damage, but he's not going to be able to do much this turn. Interesting that he decides not to attach the Choice Band on Mew and hit for 120, but instead retreat, because that Mew is now susceptible to a Jet Punch knockout. And then Ryan can just set this Buzzwole up for 1 more attack to take a knockout here.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with that as well. I feel like you would want the Mew active just because you know it's probably going to get knocked out anyways, so you might as well make it take the larger amount of damage, because it doesn't take the extra damage from things like a Choice Band or anything here. But, we'll see. Of course, I'm sure Igor has this thing and everything planned out. He made it to the top 4. There's got to be everything there. Ryan with this double artillery on his bench, just making sure that N is not going to be a factor in this matchup for him.
Yeah, Igor, of course, is a great player, and I'm sure he has some sort of game plan going on here. And in his head, I'm sure that this is exactly what he should be doing.
Oh, absolutely. He makes these players are ones that do not make any decisions without thinking them through. Everything they do is fully intentional at this stage. You don't see them make, mistakes in their own eyes in that kind of aspect.
Top players like this aren't just making a move because they think it's right and because there are other people are doing it this way and playing them. This is how they think the deck should be played. They're doing it because they've put so much time and so much of their life into this game that they know that this is what they need to do. It's not a I think that I need to do this. It's an I know at this point.
Right. Ryan does end up playing that N there, so both players getting a fresh hand. Ryan only going to 5 cards and drawing 3 Strong Energies off of that N, and a Sycamore, so not the cards he probably wanted. But it looks like we are going to see a retreat into this Buzzwole here. So that way he can still take the knockout on the Mew, as well as still put this Buzzwole up to 100.
It puts him back at even prizes. It allows him to potentially knock out this Buzzwole next turn. He can attach a Strong Energy to the Buzzwole on the bench and just use a Jet Punch for the knockout here. And then this Regirock is still sitting there ready to get, any sort of powerful attack on Ryan's side will take the knockout there. So Ryan definitely in a commanding position right now in this game.
Yeah, his energy setup is just perfect. Having the energy on the Lycanroc as well and not having to use his GX attack, he's got 2 easy prizes on this Buzzwole with 110. Whether or not he does it with the Buzzwole that has the 1 energy by attaching a Strong Energy, or he does it with the Buzzwole with the Float Stone by attaching a 3rd any energy and taking it out. It doesn't even really matter that the Sudowoodo is going to be able to copy it, because if Ryan's able to find a Guzma and an energy to finish it up, he's just going to be able to use that Lycanroc to use a Dangerous Rogue and clear that game.
The nice thing about going for the Jet Punch is that Sudowoodo is kind of just null and void there. Right. It can swing for Jet Punch again, but it's not going to be taking a knockout. And
the good thing is we do see the 3 Strong Energies in his hand, so we know he'll be able to grab that next turn, as long as he doesn't see an N come down from Igor. But Ultra Ball goes in, Igor digging through his deck, not sure what he's going to be looking for here. Maybe putting down a Remoraid. He hasn't quite gotten it just yet, but the problem is he knows that Dangerous Rogue is in play. He's got to continue playing around it. Already by putting this Buzzwole down, he's already put his Regirock at risk of being knocked out the following turn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he knows, I can bench this, it's fine, I'm already at a point where it's going to get knocked out by I think he realizes that these Buzzwoles are also going to take a knockout. So either way, he's got to take a knockout with this Sudowoodo at some point in this game.
Right. With that here, Igor does go for the max elixir, and when he misses it, he decides to concede. He understands that at this point it's too far behind. It's going to be too much. Like it's just not a game that's worth playing at this point. He wants to be able to advance into the second game. Ryan Sabelhaus starting this series though 1-0. Igor Costa will get the chance to go first here. Ryan's got to feel pretty confident, and this is a friendly game of sorts. If you guys could see the players and their actual interactions here, you'd be able to watch and see kind of some smiles, a little bit of a stress-lax-free environment, but at the same time, they know what the stakes are on the table. They know what's on the line. Both of these players are gunning for this title.
Yeah, both of them want to make history, and they both are. They're both on their way. Of course, Ryan with that win. You don't reach 60 cards mirror match by chance. If you're playing a 60 card mirror match with someone, there's a 99.9% chance that you're a good friend with that person.
Yep.
And this is this is exactly what that is.
Funny enough that you say that, I believe that Edwin Lopez, who had no testing with them whatsoever, was actually a 58 card mirror with them.
You'll get that. You'll get something very close. Edwin's list was, very similar. He was only playing one Mew.
I believe it was one Mew for something else, and that was the only change that was actually different on the list, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think it was like the extra Mew for the Super.
That looks about right. Sometimes things can kind of spread through the grapevine. I know Edwin is friends with some players that are also friends with Ryan and Igor, so that could have gotten passed along at some point. But yeah, a lot of the top players will end up playing the same decks because of friendships and just communicating with each other. Both of these players, though, of course, there was no accident.
Absolutely not. And with that, though, Igor Costa starting off this game with an Ultra Ball, so already looking a lot better than he did in the first game. He's still searching for a Pokemon on his first turn, but this time he's getting to do it with an Ultra Ball instead of having to use Encounter off Mew. First Floatstone going in the discard pile, leaving them at 2. First Octillery going in the discard pile. This time does not have one prize, but Igor did prize double Sycamore and a Guzma. Could make it a little bit difficult when it comes to supporters. Otherwise, not really too much in the prize cards that's going to be very effective. Prizing a Rockruff, not your favorite thing, but not the end of the world either.
It does mean that Ryan only has to deal with one Rockruff. So if he is able to bring that Rockruff up, knock it out, they're not playing Super Rod, as we've mentioned. It's gone forever.
Right. Now, Oswald does get an energy here and a choice band, so it's going to be able to put some offensive work in pretty quickly here. Igor and Ryan are both able to play a little bit more freely with their tools here. So the other thing about playing a 60-card mirror is, 60-card mirror. You know their deck too. So you know that neither player is playing a field blower, so they can feel a lot more confident that when they put this Floatstone down, it's not going to go anywhere. Ryan's not going to be able to pull a field blower out of nowhere to be able to punish that.
Yeah, they know exactly what each other is playing in their deck. And not only that, but they've played twice during this tournament.
Funny enough, they've played twice in this tournament. Both times we've approached them to try to put them on stream, but because of the situations and everything that they were in, and of course, nobody really wants to take out another one of your friends. They intentionally drew during each of those situations, so we were not able to see this matchup play out just yet. Now, with that being said, though, looks like Ryan does decide to go with putting his own Mew down as well as Rock and everything there. He's got that first energy on the Rockruff. Now, you'll notice a pattern here. Both games, Ryan going for the first energy on that Rockruff. He knows how important it is to get that there. The Lycanroc is a very, very key card in this matchup because it both limits your way your opponent is going to play in terms of their bench space, but it also just gives you that imminent threat at any point.
Yeah, right here we're going to get that corner on the Regirock and again force Igor to do something about it, play a Guzma if he wants to do any damage this turn and not just sit there and draw pass.
Right. I mean, that's going to actually put Igor in a very obnoxious spot. Almost kind of surprised that he didn't bring up the Buzzwole anticipating that. But of course, I'd only imagine that he's got a couple plans and everything for how he wants the next couple of turns to go. I mean, if Ryan's cornering, that also means he's not exactly putting out damage, so it doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, this corner Rockruff is really has been putting in work this weekend. A lot of games we've seen this corner Rockruff do some damage and just stall active. Last run we saw Edwin decided not to play it, and it might have hurt him a little bit because Joey was able to use his Espeon EX in those matchups. But here we see the corner Rockruff doing work, stopping this Regirock from really doing anything, and forcing a Guzma out of Igor if he wants to do anything next turn.
Yeah, and I mean, it's actually interesting enough because those Greninja decks that they don't usually play any copies of Guzma, any copies of switching cards, or anything at all like that. So you have both the Starmie, you have the Espeon, you have a couple different things that you can actually target that can actually corner. Actually, no, you can't really corner the Starmie because they could just eventually start attacking with Starfreeze.
Yeah.
You really only do it with the Espeon. But.
Yeah, the Lele, the Starmie in that matchup, they can still eventually start attacking, so you can't corner infinitely. But with an Espeon EX, the only thing it can do is Miraculous Shine.
Right.
But back to Buzzrock Mirror instead of
anticipating the next match that we may end up seeing is Joey is in the top 4 as well, and we'll try to give you guys updates as we figure out what's going on in the other top 4 match as well, just to keep you on the loop. Max Elixir comes down for Igor, looking already a little bit better there. He does get to connect with the first Max Elixir he plays, so 1 for 1, way better than the misses that he was seeing and everything on the last game.
Yeah, and we do see a Guzma in his hand. Means he can either do 90 damage to the Buzzwole or take one of these non-EXs on Ryan's bench.
I feel like we're going to see this Mew go down here. I just don't think he really wants to. Well, he decides to get the Remoraid is a little bit more of a threat, but that Mew, he knows how much damage it can put in. So.
He's going to put 30 on the Mew, assuming, I guess, that the Lycanroc's going to come down. It also means this Mew can never evolve, and it is always going to be a potential Jet Punch target.
If Ryan does choose to attach to this Mew to put the damage and everything on the Buzzwole, it gives Igor an easy way to Guzma maybe around it, Guzma up the Rockruff or something, and take a double prize next turn.
Yeah.
So a couple different things that could actually pan out pretty well there. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan actually bowls the Rockruff this turn just for that reason.
He doesn't want to get this Rockruff knocked out. He knows that he needs to get these. This Lycanroc's Dangerous Rogue Attack is just so good, and not just this matchup, but just about every matchup. And it's such an important card to get out. That is your one. It's a cheaper attack, and you're almost guaranteed a knockout as long as your opponent has 3, 4, 5 bench. So.
Right. With that, though, Ryan going through his deck with the Brooklyn Hill, he does end up putting the Remoraid right back down on the bench. Always having access to it because of that stadium that's going to stay in play for the whole game. Bear with us for just a moment here. Ryan going through his deck still, possibly putting a supporter up top that could be signaling a Tapu Lele from him.
Yeah, he does have the Lele in hand. He did flash it earlier. So he's just going to grab. He goes for the N. It's not really going to hurt Igor too badly because Igor is still drawing 5 cards. He does not have an Octillery out, so he's not going to be drawing anything more. But at this early stage in the game, that's not too big.
Now, something to note is that Ryan did have that Lycanroc in his hand there, so he opted not to play it. So, as telegraphing that he is not aiming to evolve that Rockruff here whatsoever. He's not really worried about the double knockout on the following turn. He's okay if it really happens, so he's willing to commit and hold that Lycanroc for a later scenario.
You might be assuming that Igor took the Remoraid the first time. Maybe he'll take the Remoraid the second time, trying to form a pattern in Igor's mind of what Igor's priorities are here.
Fighting Energy does hit the Mew, so it's going to be able to use Jet Punch for about 120 damage onto that Buzzwole and put 30 on the Rockruff as well. Again, putting them in a situation where if you don't evolve the Rockruff, it's going to get knocked out with a Jet Punch just from the splash damage on the bench.
Of course, this turn, Igor evolving into Lycanroc is a lot more beneficial than before when Ryan could have evolved into Lycanroc.
I think kind of surprised that he did not go for that evolution on the Rockruff here, because I really feel like Igor is going to end up targeting down that Rockruff just because it has the energy here instead of the Remoraid. Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, drawing cards is incredibly important in this matchup, or in any matchup, but knocking out this Rockruff right now, it seems more pressing. Get this energy off the board in a deck that only gets really the 1 energy per turn and the Max Elixir, which we know right now is not an automatic thing. It's so powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing to note though, if he does take out that Remoraid, that's the second one, so it means he's not getting out Octillery at any point of the game if he decides to go that route. Now, if Igor limits his bench, it also kind of reduces the viability of the Lycanroc in the first place. So if he goes for the Remoraid and keeps his bench here at 3, he's going to be pretty safe either way, and it doesn't really matter as much. So a couple different ways that we could see this go.
Well, with the 3 bench, the Lycanroc still does take a knockout with a choice band on any of the GXs that are not this Lycanroc, but now that the Lycanroc has damage, of course it will. He is going to bring up, we'll have to see which one, he verbally said, and he does pick the Rockruff like we were talking about. get rid of this energy threat on the board. He filled his bench up a little bit more so that Lycanroc could have easily taken a knockout on, say, the Regirock or on this other Lycanroc next turn.
Absolutely.
Clears Ryan's board completely of energy cards. So Ryan here is trying to hit maybe a strong energy, try to take a knockout this turn on this Buzzwole. Strong energy and a choice band will do it. Or even just a fighting energy and a choice band will do it at this point.
Because he does have the Regirock on the bench, so he only needs the fighting and the choice band. He does already have one choice band in the discard pile, so he's only got 3 left that he's going to be able to look for. But should be able to find, if he digs hard enough, we'll see if he's able to pull that through. Now we do see Ryan start limiting his bench as well. He's starting to play the same game as Igor here because Ryan no longer has that Rockruff, but Igor's got the Lycanroc sitting there with the energy. So the tables have kind of been turned. We saw Ryan with the one that was holding that threat last game, but this time it's Igor that's making sure he has the pressure.
Yeah, Igor definitely can swing this game pretty hard. Ryan really can't afford to bench any more Pokemon. If Igor does hit this choice band and can attack with this Lycanroc, take the Dangerous Shrug knockout, it puts him in a very, very strong position. You see a strong energy from that Abyssal hand. There's looks like some sort of supporter card in hand, but no way to get the choice band quite yet.
Yeah, strong energy is going on that Buzzwole here. If he only got the strong energy, it's going to be short 10 damage, which doesn't really feel the best way. But he is going to go with a Sycamore here as well. Looks like he's kind of contemplating it, but he is going to lose another fighting energy and a strong energy.
And a Buzzwole, which isn't irrelevant because, like we said, there's no recovery, and they're only playing 3 copies of Buzzwole GX.
I think I don't... Yep, there it is. There is a choice band here, so that Buzzwole is going to go down. But it's going to put Ryan up to take his first 2 prizes. Igor's still in the lead here at 3. But it's still anybody's game at this point, and with Ryan up a game, he can afford to lose this one if things don't go his way, and he is going to be playing first in the 3rd game if that's the route that we end up going.
Ryan's definitely not out of it yet, but there is a lot of strong plays that Ryan still has outs to, and once Igor does use this Dangerous Rogue attack, if he does, Ryan is free to bench more Pokemon. What is cool here is if Ryan doesn't draw into any more Pokemon, he might actually start using Bedrock Press on Regirock.
Wouldn't be surprised. Either that or even possibly just an energy drive from Tapu Lele.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a little bit more likely, especially with Lycanroc already having 60 damage.
Yeah.
Getting to 140 is not that difficult with Lele if the Lycanroc already has 3 energy.
Yeah, that's assuming it gets the 3 down, though, and a lot of the times these Lycanrocs, they get to 2, and then they get knocked out anyway. They don't try to put that 3rd energy down unless they absolutely need it. At least not in these Buzzwole Lycanroc decks. Maybe if we were in a Zoroark Lycanroc deck that plays the double colorless energies, we'd be more likely to see that. But I don't think we're going to see 3 energy come down, at least not for a couple turns.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a bit. I mean, it's got to be at least a couple turns because he doesn't play any energy switch and can't max elixir to a Lycanroc. But Igor actually is holding that max elixir there, which can be going to this either onto that Sudowoodo or onto a Buzzwole if he does to get it here with the Brooklyn Hill. We do see him eyeing that Remoraid. We know he took an Octillery out of his prizes recently. He has the other one in his deck as well. And he does want to start getting those Abyssal hands up. You don't really want to be without your card draw engine in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. So he's going to go and just find that Remoraid. It's a little bit late in the game, but he still knows that that draw power is just exactly what he's going to need to be able to close this game out successfully. He whips another max elixir. He almost kind of just looks at it, assuming that it's not going to hit. If you look, he kind of just flashed it and then just kind of shrugged and put it back.
Yep. I mean, they're just like, well, that's what's been happening in this game anyway, so I was kind of expecting it.
Yeah, neither player's been super successful with their max elixirs. And even going back to last round, we saw Edwin miss 4 max elixirs in 2 games that were all very crucial max elixirs.
I mean, if he does have a choice band and a strong energy, he can still use Dangerous Rogue to actually knock out this Buzzwole. But it doesn't look like he's going to have the strong energy. So between the Regirock and the strong energy here on the Lycanroc, he isn't going to be able to do exactly 180 as well with the Dangerous Rogue. So he does get to use the GX attack for its full effect. But this Lycanroc is going to be sitting here, and it needs to have an answer to it.
Yeah. So he does get a so he has the fighting energy in hand, and he does draw into a Guzma off of this prize card. So if Ryan doesn't end and doesn't knock out this Lycanroc, he can just attach that energy and then immediately Guzma. He can also attach the energy to Sudowoodo and Guzma the Shaman and copy Knuckle Impact if the Knuckle Impact does come down to knock out this Lycanroc.
By Shaman, you mean Tapu Lele?
Sorry, that's what I meant. Yes, I'm going to take Tapu Lele.
I think we've been a little bit used to having that Shaman for so long.
Yeah.
That's what we've always been going for. He'll still need a choice band if he's going. Never mind, he's got a Regirock, so he won't need anything. But Ultra Ball does come down here, discarding the second Lycanroc for Ryan. So he's going to probably, he's going to be playing the rest of this game without. He's really contemplating on this one here. I'd like to see what course of action he goes with. I feel that either which way, if he wants to deal with this Lycanroc, he's going to have to get a Max Elixir. The question is does he go do it onto a Sudowoodo and try to go that route, or does he go with the Buzzwole?
He goes for the Sudowoodo. He goes for the Sudowoodo with his Ultra Ball. He can use what he needs to do this turn is use either GX attack so that Sudowoodo cannot copy his attack and is able to take this knockout on this Lycanroc. He can do that either with the Sudowoodo copying the Lycanroc. Mm-hmm. I think I like attaching to the Buzzwole and doing it instead better because the Buzzwole can then go Knuckle Impact next turn. But he decides to go with the Sudowoodo. With Igor only having one prize card left, the Sudowoodo doesn't hold nearly as much of its value. But he's still going to go for it. If he hits it here, he's in a decent position to close out this game.
Mainly because of this end here.
Yeah, the reason I do like it under the Buzzwole is that it leaves him with an option to attack next turn, though this Sudowoodo isn't really going to do much of anything.
I'd like to see how this pans out for Ryan. I'm not sure he really thought about the fact that he can't use the GX attack next turn and just understood that actually because Sudowoodo would be copying, whether or not the Sudowoodo copies a GX attack or not, you can't use another Sudowoodo to watch and learn play. Yeah. It actually would completely fizzle. That's just the way that it's ruled within the compendium. We do see that Max Elixir hit though, so that Dangerous Rogue is going to be coming out of the Sudowoodo here.
If I had to make an assumption on Ryan's part, I think that he forgot that he could he could attack with a GX attack and that Igor wouldn't be able to copy it, but he did not forget that he could that the Sudowoodo could not copy a Sudowoodo.
Right. So otherwise, I agree. I really like that play there. But the fact that he hit that Max Elixir onto this Buzzwole as well, it kind of makes it somewhat irrelevant. Yeah. Because he really just can attach the energy onto that Buzzwole anyways next turn and finish off the game that way.
Yeah, we do see a Guzma off the prize cards. If there is an energy card,
this could be. Wow.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan might actually take this one. Ryan was a little bit behind early in this game, but he might be taking this comeback.
Brooklet Hill getting the Rockruff here for Igor. You've got to feel him sweating. He knows that at any moment, both players are at that point where one turn can finish this game, and Ryan Sabelhaus is going to be 2-0, advancing to the finals of Charlotte Pokemon TCG Regional Championships here. What an intense game, back and forth. Igor looking like he was going to clinch that one out, but Ryan just coming in at the end, using that end to one to put Igor in a useless spot and run that matchup back for him.
Yeah, one thing that really we noticed is key is that Ryan was able to hit those key elixirs at those key moments when he needed to. And Igor, he didn't hit the elixirs quite as well, but that's just kind of how this mirror match ends up going sometimes. Right. A lot of the matchup is who hit more elixirs, and well, Ryan was able to do that at the end of the game there. Of course, not to discount Ryan's play, of course. Ryan played a great game and is well deserving of this spot in the finals of the Charlotte Regional Championships.
Absolutely. I've got to agree with that there. You did see those elixirs miss. Igor, on the other hand, like you said, just shrugging, expecting to miss them. While Ryan, on the other hand, said, no, I'm going to be confident about this. And his confidence got him those elixirs he needed. So we will be right back, guys. We are about to have a winner's interview with our finalists at the 2018 Pokemon Charlotte Regional Championships. Give us just a moment, guys. We'll be right with you.